it's not surprising that Hannity would have a short-sighted and hyper-political and idiotic 180-degree response to Biden's change in Afghanistan. But only Greg Kelly could take it, up a notch to, I mean, short of giving Trump a rusty trombone live. Shame on Fox, right? This is the best Greg Kelly can do, I can think. And again, I don't pre-watch any of these things. All the information that I'm calling up from memory or bringing up from a simple Google search because I remember its existence. That's called wit, and it's spontaneous, and it's fairly rare these days. Greg Kelly, as does Sean Hannity, have entire teams of people and millions of dollars spent a year on their shows to concoct the fabricated slapdash Fiverr bullshit we've been watching. And Greg Kelly is mentally ill. Yeah. Not, and I mean that in a facetious, he's a prick way, not in he genuinely is sick. I don't write him off like that.
All I can say is that the fake news just doesn't get it, do they?
Jesus. You know how they say, not impersonation. Yeah, like, is the sincerest form of flattery? It's leaping out of my head right now. The imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. In this case, that's true. That's like, Greg Kelly wants to be Trump so fucking bad. He would swim up Eric Trump's dick to be closer to the sperm that came from that family line. It is, I know you've seen him when he has Don or Eric on, just like, it's fucking amazing.
They don't get Afghanistan. They didn't care. Look.
They didn't care. Calling out the fake news, and then it's just kind of a scattered, shitty, I mean, it's just kind of busy. I'm just saying. It's a mess, Greg. I would complain to my producer if I were you. Calling out fake news. I know. See, it says it there, so you can put something else there. So you don't put that and that is the same. I mean, it's chintzy, Greg. It's cheap, and I just feel bad for you. I don't like it when they make you look cheap, unless that was your idea, which it probably wasn't.
That's a hard issue to get your hands around. It's not fun. It's not politics. So the biggest issue of our...
Yeah, the news hates covering war almost as much as they hate covering car chases and apartment fires. The fuck are you talking about?
Time right now, the fall of Kabul, Afghanistan, to the Taliban, the whole damn country, received hardly any attention in 2020 because they were too busy pursuing fake news.
The fall of Kabul didn't get covered in 2020? Oh my God, Greg, you've stumbled on something true. I don't even know how that's even, it's amazing. Hold on, I've got to stop this. I'm getting this footage. Greg, you're right. It didn't get Trump's deal with that did not get. Like, the fact that this happened last year and it was going to lead inexorably to what we're experiencing right now, this is a good argument. That this is precisely, that this did not get enough coverage in 2020. Enough people didn't look at it and go, the fuck is he doing? You're right, Greg. I wish we had a time machine so I could go back and shoulder to shoulder with you point out what a fucking dumbass Trump was. Wouldn't it be lovely?
And anything to get Trump. So I'm going to go through it with you. I'll prove it to you, actually. The Chris Wallace debate, Trump versus Biden. Not one mention of Afghanistan.
Okay.
The Kristen Welker debate, Trump versus Biden. Not one reference to Afghanistan. The Lester Holt town hall on NBC News. No talk of Afghanistan. So,
Greg, you do know that Biden released several statements about Afghanistan, whereas Trump kind of shied away from largely, other than saying we're going to get out, we're going to get out, we're getting out, we're going to get out, and he lowered the number of troops, aiming for election day as he thought that was going to help him get over the line as well. And so when these debates are put up, both campaigns agree on the topics that'll be covered to some degree, or say we will or we won't answer certain stuff, or we're going to cover certain things. Biden's whole thing was knock yourself out, whatever. What do you think the odds are Trump and his team went, we want an NDA on what we're asking to not talk about, and one of them is Afghanistan, because we know we're not going to be out, and I need to bullshit people about this until then. But, and by the way, this is somehow Biden's fault that in 3 debates last year they didn't bring up Afghanistan.
Savannah Guthrie, the town hall, no talk of Afghanistan. It goes on like this. Anderson Cooper, the town hall with Joe Biden, no questions about Afghanistan.
It's almost like Trump's fuck up with COVID was eating up the news cycle.
George Stephanopoulos.
I know my video has an echo. I apologize. It's a slapback. Hopefully it's not too terrible.
The town hall with Donald Trump, no questions about Afghanistan. And it goes on and on and on like this.
So they never talked about it. They didn't bring it up at campaign events on their own. The debates were more about domestic issues because we were seeing a collapse of our economy, and COVID was ravaging the country, and hundreds of thousands of Americans were dying at home. So we weren't covering the fact that there were about 8,000 American troops, down from 15, which Trump had brought up from the 8. So, by the way, that drop to 8,000 was back to the Obama levels. Well, that's another conversation.
The only time they wanted to talk about Afghanistan was that fake news story about the bounty being put on American soldiers' head by Putin. That
wasn't fake. They just said there wasn't actionable intelligence. There's okay. So you get word that your mate is cheating with your brother, and you want to go over and sock him in the jaw, and but you hear it from a couple of people that may or may not be on your side, and might just be trying to bait you into your brother's house so that he can ambush you, and then you get a picture of it happening. And then you go over and knock him on the jaw. Until you get the picture, you might not actually go over there and take action per se. This is the in deference to you, Greg, the infantile version of reality that might make this clear to you. Whereas without that picture, you might fume about it. You might have an argument. You might eventually get the truth out over time. Between you and that person, if it ever is possible that it could occur. But without that picture, you're not going to just wander over there and sock him on the jaw. So, it's going to take a lot for you to physically strike someone. And so you're going to need more actionable intelligence than just multiple. Now, dozens of people could say it. But you could still go, look, I talked to her. I think it's something else. I honestly don't believe that it's going on. I think you guys are misreading this. Whatever, or it might be true, but I'm not going to just go punch somebody unless I've got proof. That's where we were. We didn't have actionable intelligence. That does not mean it was fake news. That does not mean it was made up.
Out to be totally fake news.
No, it didn't.
A collusion, if you will, between some in the media and the deep state.
The collusion, the deep state, and by the way, if you don't know, the deep state is a restaurant in D.C. It's got their loaded mashed potatoes are the shit.
When that came out, they jumped on it.
You had a phone call with Vladimir Putin on July 23rd. Did you bring up this issue?
No, that was a phone call to discuss other things, and frankly, that's an issue that many people said was fake news.
Who said
it was
fake news?
I think a lot of people, if you look
Yeah, this is great evidence.
at some of the wonderful folks from the Bush administration, some of them, not any friends of mine, were saying that it's a fake issue.
It's because you don't believe the intelligence, that's why.
No, it never reached my desk. You know why? Because they didn't think it was intelligence. They didn't think it was real.
It was in
They
your
didn't
written
think-
brief, though.
They didn't think it was worthy of. I wouldn't.
Yeah, it was in his brief.
If it reached
He
my
doesn't read the brief, so he doesn't know that.
desk, I would have done something about it. It never reached my desk.
Yeah, and that's true. He would have done something about it. He would have picked up his check and cashed it in rubles.
But the story did its damage. The fake news story did its damage. And even ultimately, the Biden administration, once they were safely in power, admitted as much, that this was a bogus story.
Is that what they said? Did they say it was a bogus story? Or did they say there's not actionable intelligence about it? Now, granted, Greg, your head doesn't actually contain any actionable intelligence. So this might be an ongoing problem for you.
So that's the one time they talked about
Oh,
Afghanistan,
congratulations, artists. I'm glad you're finally getting it.
a fake news story that they thought could hurt the president. Meanwhile, what were they obsessed with?
By the way, every time Greg Kelly says Trump or the president and he's talking about Trump, he licks his lips. That's not an accident.
Anything to, I don't know, any perceived vulnerability about Donald Trump, they hit, and they hit hard.
Let's talk about our next section, which is race in America.
You were asked point blank to denounce white supremacy. In the moment, you didn't.
Systemic racism.
Right. So the press is supposed to not bring that up because it's a perceived weakness with him. Nice, Greg. This is a great. By the way, in the middle of this Afghanistan debacle, thank you for reminding everyone that Trump backed the Proud Boys and told them to stand back and stand by.
Racism in America is real.
Yeah, Mike Pillow licks his lips too, but Mike Pillow does the whole like the lizard jut, the whole. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, it's gross.
Should not be debating that.
The white supremacy of today has not reached the level it did a century ago. But some of its deeply troubling ideas are returning.
For the fake news, it was much more fun.
What the fuck did that have to do with Trump? What did that last clip have to do with Trump? Seriously, check this out.
Today has not reached the level it did a...
We should not be debating that.
Okay, we should not be debating that. That's fine. That may or may not be about the Proud Boys clip. It's hard to say from that. But listen to what the quote is on the next
You
page.
didn't.
Systemic racism in America is real. We should not be debating that.
And by the way, again, why is that about Trump? And the fact that you're taking it that personally means you think it's about Trump.
The white supremacy of today has not reached the level it did a century ago. But some of its deeply troubling ideas are returning.
For the fake
What the fuck does that have to do with Trump's statement? Honest to God, these are fucking Nazis. These guys actually are. They're proud of it. This is a news report about it's fucked up that these guys are walking around thinking they're the shit. What the fuck does this have to do with calling Trump out? It isn't debatable. It's not debatable that these assholes are racists. What are you talking? And how do you get your panties in a bunch about Trump from a video that says that and shows this unless you think there's a there?
fake news, it was much more fun. It was a lot easier to play up this stuff than tackle the real issue of the Taliban, Afghanistan with...
Dude, we had 2,500 troops in Afghanistan. There are more than 2,500 marching neo-Nazis in the fucking country right now. Here. Yeah, it's a bigger story. The Taliban can't even fly a fucking plane. You know that whole thing about they don't have an air force? It also means they don't have the ability to get over here. You know who can? These fucking Michigan militia assholes.
Rural timelines. That was hard and not for them particularly interesting. So they focused on this kind of stuff.
You mean domestic problems at home, news that actually affects human beings? Yeah, I think that's actually a kind of important.
What was their other mission? To protect Joe Biden.
Why? Let's see. Let's connect the dots, Greg, shall we? So, calling out white supremacy and saying it's bad and being concerned with its spread somehow protects Joe Biden, a white man in his 70s who at that time was running for office in the Democratic Party, where everybody was saying it's too late and it's not his time anymore.
They had to protect him. You know, there was a time where political journalists said...
By the way, if these guys want to be dropped off in Taliban regions to fight, like I said, there's more of them than there were troops in Afghanistan. Step up, fucko. You got a little... What is that shield made out of? A garbage can?
To themselves, we got to make sure they're ready to be president by being really, really hard on them. That's how they kind of made excuses for themselves to ask all these silly questions and to look into their private lives.
Well, I hate Illinois Nazis too.
Well, they didn't even do that when it came to Mr. Biden.
When you hear these remarks, suckers, losers, recoiling from amputees, what does it tell you about President Trump's soul and the life he leads?
That's somebody's question.
Last night, President Trump mocked you for wearing a mask and said that this is a sign that you must have some, quote, big issues. I wonder if you worry that this kind of language that comes from the President of the United States could deter some Americans who are tuning into him to not wear masks.
Holy shit. Greg Kelly is playing that clip as they were just trying to get Joe Biden across the finish line and attack Trump with every question. First of all, it's a question at a town hall. Second of all, yeah, that's a legit concern from that woman, because that's exactly what's happening in red states right now. These fuckers are not wearing masks in Florida and Texas especially, because it shows their fealty to Donald Trump. I mean, even the Koreshians had to wear a cross. These assholes just have to go, no shot in my twat, and not wear a mask. He loves me.
He asked you about another thing the president said last night.
Yeah, it was a campaign.
Once again suggested to his supporters that they should consider voting twice if they're...
Yeah, by the way, we've covered that. That happened a bunch. It's one of the reasons why the Republican governors and secretaries of states don't want you to look into the election in their area. It's not because you're going to find a bunch of Biden votes that don't belong. It's quite the opposite, actually.
One of those states that can allow you to request an absentee ballot. Just curious what you make of it.
One softball after the next, an invitation to bash President Trump.
Yes, these are those are the friendlies, and they don't like Trump, and they're voting for Biden because they don't like him. They don't like Trump. Why? And why are you so fucking delicate, you wuss?
Why do they do that? Well, I think they had orders.
They had orders. Yes, this is all deep state. These are all. That guy is clearly George Soros in a mask.
They were formally ordered, or they just took it upon themselves to protect Joe Biden.
Or they fucking hate Trump, and you can't process the idea that Trump is gross and a moron.
I saw it is very weak.
Look, there is no reality where Trump isn't the perfect people. Look, they'd have to be paid by someone to say bad things about Trump. He's a good man. I love him so much.
It's very weak during the campaign. Sometimes you just seem totally, lost.
He's talking to someone in the balcony.
And unfortunately,
he's listening in that clip. I know they use this clip a lot because he's looking up and he's, he gets, I have the same doofy look when I'm listening to someone. My eyes get big and I slack my face. It's a habit that I've had for a long time. And Biden does the same thing, but it's overly earnest people tend to do this, which is like, not only am I listening, I want you to know I'm listening. So I put on my listening face, and it happens. He's listening to someone talking. We all saw this. He stuck around after his interview and took questions and then fielded them, and then in some cases had people double back and clarify stuff that people wanted more information on.
He seems really lost now.
Dude, he does not. You seem really lost. If you weren't, you wouldn't be playing a clip of him listening on a loop. It's the same clip. It's the same fucking clip. It's the same clip, Greg. Why don't you slow it down? Maybe that'll make it seem even more.
And the stakes are so much higher.
Well, yeah, he's president now. He was just campaigning last time.
This photograph of him at the desk, maybe it's Camp David alone.
Maybe it's Camp David. It is Camp David. Dum. And he's not alone. He's talking to everyone on there and the other people, all the people on that screen, and nobody else is in the room because they're either there taking care of something, they're at the Pentagon, or they're at the White House for him because he's at Camp David, or they don't have clearance to be in the fucking place. It's a top-level picture. He didn't finish his meal late and everybody left, dumbass.
During the worst crisis this country has seen in 10 years, 15...
I'm sorry, what? You what? What was that?
During the worst crisis this country has seen in 10 years.
Excuse me, could you say that one more time into my shit ear?
During the worst crisis this country has seen in 10 years.
The worst crisis? The worst crisis. The worst crisis. The worst crisis. The worst crisis this country has seen in 10 years. There's I'm sorry? Greg Kelly, so let me try and crowbar this into my feeble intellect. I'm having a hard time processing this, Greg. But according to you, us removing our final 2,500 soldiers from Afghanistan so that they are not caught in the middle of a civil war this fall when it breaks out, because we already made an agreement to leave, and the agreement, as far as them not shooting at us, ends in 2 weeks. That's worse. That's worse than 500,000 plus dead Americans. Okay, so there was some debate about who the dumbest person on the internet was, and Dan Bongino, as Mike Pillow likes to call him, was in the lead. I personally, I think Mark Levin has lapped him, but that might be a conversation for another day. Mark Levin is getting dumber by the day. Bongino has just stabilized at his level. His actionable level of idiocy is making him money right now, so he's just decided to like ride the wave. He's coasting in his moronic ways, whereas Mark Levin is trying to win the Tour de France of idiocy. This is the most depraved bullshit that has been on the air about the Afghanistan breakdown. Honestly, in the last 2 days, since this shit has been going on. Yes, the great Bongholio, who is looking for TP for his bunghole, Bongino. Yeah, great. Say that again, Greg, if you would, if you must, if you could. Maybe I should just put this over. Should we do this?
15 years, the worst crisis this country has seen in 10 years, 15 years, I don't know. That does not inspire confidence.
This is a magical level of... It's hard to like... Do you think they go someplace special and like Greg Kelly sits in a seat like the Winter Soldier and they just fucking erase anything that Trump did so he can go, no, everything he did was good?
Maybe if they were a little tougher on him during the campaign.
Maybe if they were a little tougher on Trump, he would have left on his own.
They would have gotten him ready. This is not just for me.
Gotten him ready? He opposed the surge because he thought it was a waste of fucking time and we should get out. Once he got to be president, he's following through on that belief system. That's it. He even added time to the date that Trump had set up, and Trump did zero preparation.
People in the business of politics, in
the business of politics. That sounds good.
The business of government have grave doubts about Joe Biden. Remember the name Robert Gates? Robert Gates was CIA director under Ronald Reagan, became defense secretary under George W. Bush, and also for Barack Obama, and worked
until he wasn't
closely with Joe Biden.
Yeah, the first few weeks.
Here's what he says about Joe Biden in his memoir published 2 years ago. I'll read from it now. I think Biden has been wrong.
By the way, they love this quote.
On nearly every...
Has anybody asked Robert Gates how long we should stay in Afghanistan in the last couple days?
Major foreign policy and national security issue over the past...
And I love how it's Obama defense secretary on Biden. It was replaced.
4 decades. That's quite a track record. And nobody sees Mr. Gates as a partisan, really. So what else does the...
Well, they do see Gates as somebody who wanted to stay in Afghanistan. That would be part of what you would want to factor in on Robert Gates's response to Joe Biden, is that Joe Biden and he disagree on the value of the blood and treasure we spend in foreign wars.
You think about Joe Biden?
It's one thing to go into these things, in the beginning, believing the intelligence, knowing they have a limited scope, and then watching it drag on, and you're expected not to change your mind.
Is he ready to be president?
Yeah, he's ready. He's good. He's handling it pretty well.
Still, I think he's been wrong on nearly every major foreign policy and national
May 12th, 2019.
security issue over the past 4 decades. Would he be an effective commander-in-chief?
I don't know. I don't know. I think I stand by that statement.
That was a big, deep breath.
Greg, you take a big, deep breath every time a picture of Trump comes up.
He's been in the room with him, the Situation Room, the Oval Office. He didn't know. Well, now we all know.
No, we don't. I disagree with Robert Gates. How about that?
You knew before, but now everybody knows. Even the fake news knows. He's not a good commander-in-chief.
He's the only president since we started this fucking war to actually end it.
Not a good president. He shouldn't be there.
But, but we should be in Afghanistan. He shouldn't be there, but how many troops should be in Afghanistan, Greg? What about Trump's May 1st deadline? Were we more prepared for then? Should we have just honored it because it was Trump? Because Trump said it. If Trump said May 1st, they should. Oh my God.
But somehow he is. Somehow he is.
Yes, he is. He won fair and square. He's doing a good job. He's doing the tough stuff other people didn't want to do. Fuck you.
I have a feeling somebody won't be there for much longer, though. General Mark Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Number one, he made a spectacle out of himself.
Milley should lose his job over Afghanistan.
And apologizing needlessly for this moment. This moment when he
needlessly
walked across the street with the President of the United States.
For a fucking photo op.
Nobody had a problem with this, except...
Yeah, we did.
Maybe key allies in the incoming Democrat administration?
No, I'm not involved in the incoming Democratic administration. I am not paid for nor coaxed by anyone involved with the Democratic Party on any level. All thoughts and ideas and jokes and voices you hear are of my own creation, with the rare exception of some stuff has to be faked. But most of what you hear here is just my ideas off the top of my head or through the research that I've done, and you can take it as I give it based on that information. And no one in the administration told me to be outraged at this pile of bullshit.
Why would he apologize?
because he shouldn't be there shoulder to shoulder for an asshole walking over to a church for a photo op with a Bible he's holding upside down. You need IT help? Glad to help, John. Meet me at Stuttering John's house.
If you saw the result of the photograph of me at Lafayette Square last week, that sparked a national debate
Right.
about the role of the military in civil society. I should not have been there.
Right.
It's a ridiculous statement.
No, it isn't. He shouldn't have been there. There was no need for him to be there. It looked like he was helping. It's a mistake. The military needs to stay out of political photo ops.
Why did he do that?
Because he actually regretted it, and it was a mistake.
I believe, and a lot of people do. He was playing.
Far has an epic echo. I know, it's got reverb on it. It's amazing. It's like Ozzy in a hall if you take out all the pitch shifting.
Footsie with Democrats, and he was pulling for Democrats to win in November.
Or he was responding to the flack military were getting, and he actually gives a shit. Now, actually giving a shit is something you don't know anything about, Greg. You may have at one time in your life. God knows we all were young once. But now, certainly not.
Now take a look at this. This is a very bizarre statement, as reported by two reporters, fake news reporters to be sure, but I have a feeling this is a legit story from General Milley. Something else changed for Milley after June 1st, that walk across the street. That summer, he kept hearing Trump warn that he might not trust the November election results, that if he did not win by a landslide, the vote was rigged. So what did he do? Milley told aides that he had reached out to a trusted confidant soon after Lafayette Square. He had a plan, and he needed someone to hold him accountable to it. This is weird. I have 4 tasks from now until the 20th of January, and I'm going to accomplish my mission, Milley told this confidant, referring to the inauguration in 2021. Mission 1 is to get us from now until the election without U.S. troops on the streets of America killing Americans. Mission 2 is no overseas war with Iran.
Yeah, these are all things Trump was floating.
Mission 3 is maintaining the integrity of the U.S. military.
Which, obviously, gross.
Mission 4 is maintaining my own personal integrity.
Which, by the way, that sound you hear is Greg Kelly's diaper filling. Because whenever anybody says, personal integrity, it gives him the...
That's my mission, and I commit to you that mission, he continued. And our mission is to ensure the United States of America has a free and fair election with no U.S. military involvement whatsoever. His mission is not up to him. He's kind of giving himself this self-righteous assignment. There's something that does not quite add up about...
Well, that's because you're leaving out the part where all of those things were a concern to him because Trump was starting to insist on all those things, including a war with Iran.
His story, and he's telling somebody else. And you'll notice.
And it's related by someone else who you don't take seriously and you say is fake news all the time until you read a quote that you think you can weaponize.
His mission was not anything about Afghanistan. If only...
He wasn't in charge of Afghanistan at that point.
He had started planning back then.
Well, that was the part that he would have to get from the president. So here's the thing. So in his position, Trump gives orders, he follows them. If Trump gives an illegal order, he has to decide not to do it because he's at the highest level. It's not like somebody below him whistleblowing and fucking off and telling the press and that kind of stuff. He's the actual guy that could carry it out. So he has to push back against those. I'm sure if Trump had bothered to give him an order about evacuating people or starting to work on the special interrogator visas or whatever from Afghanistan, that he'd have worked on that. Trump never did. Maybe that's the thing that doesn't add up, Greg. Maybe the thing that doesn't add up is the complete lack of leadership from Trump on Afghanistan if it didn't involve kissing the ass of the Taliban, giving them criminals so that they could put them back on the battlefield only in exchange for temporary ceasefires, and then not involving the Afghan government in his peace negotiations. When to negotiate a peace, you have to have both warring parties at the table. So not a peace agreement, a withdrawal agreement, and it was done under the table. That's the part that doesn't add up. Milley would have been in charge of starting the SIV process and all these other stuff. Trump never ordered him to do it. Why not, Greg? How come? Why? I mean, he set the date, May 1st. He could have said, starting January 3rd, this is what we're going to do. We're going to pull this out. I'm a leader. I know how to make deals. But he didn't. How come? I mean, besides the fact that he's a moron and doesn't give a fuck and has fucked up every free lunch he's ever gotten. Besides that.
Wasn't just the general and the defense secretary and Joe Biden, but what about the Central Intelligence Agency? Where have they been in all of
Well, a bunch of them have been in Afghanistan telling the administration that this thing is fucked and we need to get out.
this? They've been playing the woke music a lot lately.
The woke music. There's a new single out. I don't know if you've heard it. It's wokey. There's a lot of, hold on, I might have a clip from the woke, let's see, the woke music. Yeah, here it is. No gender. Everything is racist, there's no gender. Here's the army, teddy bears instead of guns. Here's the army, teddy bears instead of guns. And open all the prisons and let everyone go. No more cops, no more cops. All right. Sorry, I needed a moment to myself. Thanks very much. Jesus, the woke music.
Remember their ad campaign a few months ago?
Nothing about me was or is tragic. I am perfectly made. I can wax eloquent on
Yeah, it sounds like a Christian college ad, by the way, more than a woke thing. I do need
complex legal
strobe lights,
issues
you're right.
in English while also belting Guayaquil de mis amores in Spanish.
Yeah, we need more Spanish-speaking people working at the CIA, and there were a lot of people who could do a lot of desk work and the like, but were self-selecting out and they weren't joining. And a bunch of other people think that the CIA is like an old boys club, so running an ad like this, while it may not attract this very woman or people just like her, it will bring in people who are sympathetic to her plight and therefore would take an oath to protect the country and everyone in it and not just the people they like. But, you know, Greg Kelly hates that.
I can change a diaper with one hand and console a crying toddler with the other. I am a woman of color. I am a mom. I am a cisgender millennial who's been diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. I used to struggle with imposter syndrome, but at 36, I refuse to internalize misguided patriarchal ideas of what a woman can or should be. I am tired of feeling like I'm supposed to apologize for the space I occupy rather than intoxicate people with my
By the way, a proud brown woman is Greg Kelly's kryptonite, just so you know. Like, while we're all watching this video going, yeah, it's a little ham-handed, but I see where they're trying to go, and they're supportive of this woman. She already works for the CIA, by the way. She's serving our country honorably, for the record. There's no thank you for your service in this from Greg Kelly. And by the way, ma'am, thank you for your service, especially considering the hurdles you've had to jump to get there. It makes it even nicer, even more the reason why you would respect that. But Greg Kelly's dick is turtling so bad right now, he's got a knot on the back of his head.
For my brilliance. I am proud of me. Full stop.
Doesn't she look like that's a middle school? That looks like a middle school in some sort of...
Yeah, it's not. It's some sort of poster that they have.
Art project for a middle school. No, that's the Central Intelligence Agency, and she's an analyst with an attitude who works...
With an attitude. All right.
There. I don't care about any of that stuff. We care about...
Well, then don't watch it. Are you trying to cancel her, Greg Kelly?
Whether or not you're good at your job.
And she is good at her job. And all those characteristics would make someone like you think she's not good at her job because of those characteristics. Don't hold her back from doing a life-saving job at the CIA, you anti-American fuck.
Too many people at the CIA apparently are not good at their jobs. Let's face it. They screwed up. They helped screw up Afghanistan. No doubt.
They helped screw up Afghanistan. Yeah, the Afghan government and the military forces there didn't need any help from us. As a matter of fact, the fact that we were able to prop it up with just 2,500 people there speaks to an incredible organization of both military and intelligence.
Doubt about it. Going back, no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq when they said there would be. I mean,
did they? Did they say there would be? Because I don't remember them saying it. I remember them saying, we don't think so. There's a possibility they had some stuff, but we think it's gone. And Colin Powell and Donald Rumsfeld and Dick Cheney coming out and saying, yeah, we know, not only do we know that it's there, we know exactly where it is.
We ought to change the name of this organization, rebrand it, start again. And of course, their failures to stop September 11th. They should have known. They should have protected us.
They did. They, as a matter of fact, a brief was handed to the president with intelligence that said bin Laden determined to strike. Never mind. You wouldn't believe me anyways. And that's it. That's his whole thing. By the way, this is called fake news helped Biden botch Afghanistan withdrawal. I mean, I don't know how they typed that shit up, but okay. That's not what we watched.